Hey guys, welcome aboard. Hey guys, welcome aboard. It's George with Diamond Yard Sports Cards. I'm here to do a Sets That Made Us special. We did it last year, and I'm joined by two awesome YouTubers, buddies of mine, James from Elite Hunters to help me out, and Don's Field of Dreams cards. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Good.
well.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I see we got some people in the chat already. Hey Lou Rock, Staven Sports Cards. This is going to be a fun hour, 50 minutes. We're going to talk about cards from different sets, 3 or 5 different sets that we all gravitate towards. We've picked different sets, and Don's going to talk about 2 sets. James is going to talk about 2 sets, and I'm going to talk about 1. But first, I want to introduce James. For people who don't know you, if you could maybe explain a little bit about your channel.
Well, I'm Elite Hunters on YouTube. My name is James. I started my YouTube channel a little over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and I collect a little of everything, but I definitely like to collect vintage mainly and high-end players per se, because I just love the history behind some of these players and appreciate the history of baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport, but I also collect boxing, baseball, basketball, football, and that's about it.
You have a great collection in general, but I was floored by your pugilists that you had, all the great boxing cards.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, that was a lane of collecting where I thought was undervalued with so many greats, and the fact that you could find cards all the way to the 1800s was what intrigued me. For like $40, you could buy an Oxford card. It's just unbelievable. It used to blow my mind how undervalued I thought those cards were.
They probably still are, to some degree.
Yeah, well, not as much anymore. You go to look for Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay cards, you're not getting them cheap anymore.
So true. So Don, welcome aboard again for year 2. We had Chuck and you last year on this show.
We did.
Could you explain a little bit about your channel as well?
Yeah. Don Field of Dreams cards, and I'm primarily a vintage Hall of Fame baseball player collector. I live here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so I'm a big Roberto Clemente fan, and I collect Stan Musial quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed watching your videos about Musial, about with Clemente, and we're going to talk about some sets today. The first one being the 1954 top set. But actually, before I get to that, I just want to let you guys know, if you want to contribute, you'll be entered into a drawing. That there are some boxes Bench Clear is giving away, and I want to thank Bench Clear for supporting us and having us on this channel. We're really looking forward to it. So make sure you contribute. I know that it's going to, I believe, veterans, and so it's going to a good cause, and you'll get an entry into getting some cool boxes, modern boxes. Anyway, so Don, you'd chosen the 1954 top set to discuss with us. We're gonna jump into this pretty soon here, and just if you could maybe talk about why you gravitated towards the 54 top set.
Yeah, so last year, for example, the 2 sets that I'd shown were sets that kind of had some meaning to me, and growing up as a kid, I had collected one of those sets. And the 2 sets I'm going to talk about today, I didn't initially set out to start collecting the whole set of the Hall of Famers. And for the 54, for example, I already had the key rookies. I had the Hank Aaron, the Ernie Banks, the Al Kaline. I had the Jackie Robinson, and I had the 2 Ted Williams cards, which are arguably the top cards of that set. And after I looked at it, I said, this is pretty easy to finish this set at this point, because I have the big boys. And I only collect players that made the Hall of Fame as a player. So, for example, I won't include Tommy Lasorda in this because he made it as a manager. If it was a 75 set, for example, I would collect the Frank Robinson player card because it said he was a DH, but I wouldn't collect the team card because it shows him as a manager and he got in as a player. And, the Lasorda is a card that I wouldn't mind adding, but if I were a PSA set registry guy, I would not have the complete set because I don't include managers. And that's the beauty of collecting. You collect how you want to. And that's how I want to collect those sets. I'd rather just have the players personally for my sets. And it's a great looking set with the colorful backgrounds, and there's, you know, probably one of the top sets for rookies. You know, I'm not sure if there's a year that has more great rookies than the 54 set.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to start showing some slides, and I want you guys all to know out there that the slides that we're showing are all our cards. So we've all collected them. Now, some of them are intermingled. Not all the 54s we're going to show are Don's. Not all the 52s we're going to show are James. But these are cards from our own sets. So, Don, if you take us through this first one, this is a really beautiful Warren Spahn.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite cards in the set. I love the blue background. Whitey Ford's card is very similar to this. I just think the blue background with the red and the dark blue in the Braves outfit, just a classic looking card. And I'm going to say this a few times during this video, but really an undervalued player. You know,
do you think that's the case? Do you think that's the case, James, with Warren Spahn?
I think he is undervalued. The winningest lefty in the modern, the live ball era, is it? Yeah, he's definitely undervalued.
And this seems to be the set that has the photos for the first time. Is that sound right, guys? I know 57 was the first like full photo set, but we have photos here, and in 53 there are illustrations. I think it's the first top set that were photographs.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So another card we have coming up here is a beauty. Also, clearly, you know, a player that's still with us and being appreciated, I think, more and more every day.
And again, one of the top cards in this set, and I forgot to mention him earlier when I was listing some of the key cards. Don't know how I forgot Willie Mays, but again, I just love the looks of these cards, and there might be the same photo on the left on his 55 and 56. So Topps was a little lazy there, but then you have the action shot, the black and white, to go with the portrait shots on these cards. And that's a great example of a 4. I was thrilled to get that card in that grade.
Yeah, I think that this set just boasts, it's not only the key rookies, but it boasts just these younger players that are just coming up and you know, just so important in baseball history. Let's see if look at that one.
Yeah, another rookie, the Al Kaline card. Again, you know, I don't want to sound like a broken record on these, but they're just beautiful cards. And that's, you know, it's not a cheap card, but it's not in the Aaron Banks stratosphere of rookie cards in this set. It's just a beautiful young Al Kaline. Never played in the minor leagues, went straight to the major leagues. So this would be a really early photo of him just when he started playing ball.
Yeah, I think this is a really undervalued. I mean, obviously, you know, a card's been around for 60 years almost, but it seems like it's undervalued considering how, I mean, he's Mr. Tiger. You know, if it's not like he's, right. You know, he was around for so long and so productive.
Here's a card. I was lucky to get this when I did, and I've heard other people say it. You know, I got this before the boom, and one of his last cards, he didn't have a ton of cards. He's got the 55 and 56. But, you know, any Jackie Robinson you can have in your collection is a great card, in my opinion. I could probably say that about any of these guys. But, you know, love the in-action shot of Jackie there. It's a great portrait of him smiling there. And again, the blue with the yellow, just a nice mix. Another great card that's set of a classic, you know, all-time great.
James, do you have any 54s?
Yeah, I have the Hank Aaron, the Ernie Banks. I have a few. I actually gave away the Warren Spahn in a giveaway. So, Adam's Card Closet got that Warren Spahn.
That's a pretty nice giveaway.
Yeah,
nice.
It went to a Braves fan, so I couldn't go to a better collector.
Right. And again, that's the big rookies right here. I would love to switch this over to SGC someday, but I bought this one in my local card shop. This card's tough. You know, as you can see, the centering up top is a little high, and it's very common in this card. But the price was right on this. That's why I bought it in a BBG, and not concerned about a little bit of off centering, and the white on white helps with the borders on this card. So pretty tough card to get centered well. Classic.
I have been looking for one of these for a long time, and they all are. I'm not, and this is a beautiful one. They're all seem to be high, and or then the dark underneath is capped. There's the print defects and snow and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's no snow on this card. The registration's beautiful, and just fortunate to have all these cards in my set or in my collection. I mean, thrilled to have it.
And Don, do you know if there's any short prints in this set that are pretty prominent, or?
I don't, George. Someone in the chat might know. I have to admit, I don't know the full history of these two sets I'm going to talk about in depth.
No, there's no short prints.
Cards I wanted.
No.
Thanks, Mike.
That's great.
And then, of course, one of the top cards of any year right here, of one of the greatest players of all time, Hank Aaron. It's been said by Eric, those back pages. I think Mike says it. It's never a bad time to buy a Hank Aaron. And I picked this one up, I think, 3 months before he passed away. So I lucked out there, when I purchased this one.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful, I believe it's a 4. I don't have my glasses on me. But,
I can remember.
It's one of my bank vault cards.
John Mangini had sent us a link to the Heart to Heart episode from like 1982, where on Heart to Heart there was a baseball card collection, and that a kid had been stolen, and he was a friend of Robert Wagner's, and he had to go get the card collection back, and they were flipping cards at the end of the episode. And I remember the Aaron rookie from that show way back in the day, and I was like, man, if I could ever own one of those, I'd love to. You know what I mean? And so I think we all have one in our collection, right? You said you have one too, James, right?
Yeah, I have one of those in a 4. My Ernie Banks is in a 4.
Yeah, just such a historic card.
What's that?
You have the Al Kaline?
No, not the Al Kaline.
Okay.
So Don, thank you for going over 54 with us. We're moving. We're going to move, and we're going to go. John, or I'm sorry, James, you had mentioned 52 tops, and then we had discussed what sets you were going to do, and I was really excited to hear about this. If you could maybe tell us a little bit about why you are drawn to the 52 top sets, you specifically.
Well, I never set collect. I just feel like I don't fall in love with the commons enough. But there's something about the 52 tops that I felt like even the commons have something to them. Like with these 4, which I sent you a picture of, where the background, just the image, they're not redundant as far as the image goes. Like it's just a constant portrait or anything like that. Like all of them have a feel to themselves. And I started to, the more and more I looked at them, I started to fall in love with them. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a stab at trying to put this set together.
That's quite a task.
It might take 10 or 20 years, but these are some that I sent you that I thought spoke for themselves, as far as like Billy Johnson right here, a common once again, but look at the background with the stadium. Look at Bill Kennedy, the background in the stadium, just the details with the art. Jim Hegan, you can see the people in the stands. I mean, there's so much going on in these cards that you could still fall in love with owning some of these commons, and it's just art, I think. And the fact that it's their first main set is something to behold. And then you have some like these where it's not just, it's a portrait, but with these, it seems like the different artists wanted to do different feels. And it seems like they put like this aura around their faces, which I thought was pretty cool. It almost makes them look angelic. And then it goes to show you that certain artists painted their own signature way. So it seems like maybe this artist chose to go with this illuminated, I don't know, angelic look for these players. And then if you see another bunch that I sent you, they don't have that little glow, or what you want to call it, aura glow.
I feel like 41 Play Ball has something similar going on with it sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I think is unique about this set is not all of them are different. They just speak for themselves. They're very cool looking. And then finding some that are centered could be such a challenge. The fact that they're so old, the condition sensitivity. See,
I
like with
love
this-
that Bob Feller.
yeah, these doesn't have the glow. But they still pop. Look at how bold the red looks, the yellows. It has the star. The stars in it is multiple. Like the magnitude of this set with stars speaks for itself, which also makes it challenging, not to say the least. It has the short prints, like what you asked Don. The
Yeah.
short prints, high number series. Oh my lord, that is going to be a challenge for me. But I'm up for the task. Maybe I'll only end up buying 20 of them. Maybe I don't buy any. I don't know. But I mean, I don't want to get into a set that's not challenging. You know, well, what's the big deal about buying a set you can buy like in 1 month?
Yeah, so true. Hey, I got a question, James, about the we discussed this about the high numbers a little bit before. I mean, with Topps, seems like they're going kind of all in here and trying to get kids' attention in 1952 with this set. But why do you think I think that you discussed a strategy that Topps might have had for the high numbers and kind of who they put in there and when they released them.
Well, when they came out in 51 with their initial set, it didn't really take off because they were bland and boring. And then I guess they listened to people, what they had to say. So then they just went for the home run. And they hit Aaron Judge 500-foot bomb, basically, because they went bigger, bolder, colorful. Even with the backs, they put stats, bio, a little caption about what that player did the year before or what he meant to the game. They gave you so much bang for your buck, but they were still hesitant. They gave you a lot of stars in the first series, and then they chopped it up into 6 series, and they staggered those series throughout the season, all the way to the point that the high number series, which is series 6, they released that around October to November. But by that time, so many collectors moved on to football that set just wasn't selling anymore. A lot of the attention went on to football, and other collectors got frustrated because they couldn't find some of the stars they were looking for, that they just said, forget this, I'm done with collecting Topps. And they couldn't move them anymore. It's like all the fanfare just went off and they said, give us 53. We're done with baseball this season. And they couldn't move them. Hence, that's where they had a warehouse full of cards, and then they just started putting them all in the ocean.
Yeah, and we had talked about this. You know, I was consigning a collection, and the collector, the 61 to 66, and all of these cards. It seemed like he didn't get to the high series, but he was a football collector as well. And so it seemed to me that, like, as a kid, he was a kid in the early 60s. And he got bored of baseball cards around August. And then he would, once they released those football cards, he was trying to get those, you know, those Johnny Unitises and those Jim Browns and Bart Starrs, et cetera. So it's like, it seems like, you know, for releasing them in a series is kind of not what we are accustomed to, especially if we grew up, you know, collecting in the 80s, and even late 70s, because the series were not part of our collecting life, you know, so to speak. We could get all the cards up front. You know, if I wanted an 84 Don Mattingly, I'd have to wait till September to get it. I could get it in, you know, right in March or April or whatever. Mm-hmm. Looks like we lost Don here. Hopefully he'll return. Thank you for your contribution, Scott, Reindeer Studios. Get that 70s card show.
Don has left the building.
Well, hopefully he'll get back on here soon. This was a Minoso that I decided to throw in here just because, you know, he's a newly minted Hall of Famer. But man, what a striking card! You know, just it just has so much depth to it. Yeah, Don, we only paid him for 1/3 of the time he's out. I just thought this is always, even before he's in the Hall of Fame, it's just a striking card. You know, and I just thought, wow, I'll throw this one in there too.
There's many cards in this collection that just pop, and I mean the feel, they're all different. And it's just an amazing set when you really start deep diving into them. I think I send you pictures of some landscape cards. Those happen to be some of my favorite looking cards. And to collectors who do not like landscape cards, these have the landscape cards that are just, I love them. I love them. Me personally, I think they're just works of art.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of, if we can move to the next card, this one doesn't have a background or landscape like you're talking about. And this is a great card, obviously, but it doesn't have the background either. The red background is fantastic, but it would be so cool, like in the 50 Bowman, where you have these wonderful backgrounds that you know, you stadiums and the scope of them. But this is, thank you, Sticks and Seams, appreciate it. This is a great card, obviously. This is my card. I got it a long time ago, and it may be one of the only cards in my collection that has an MK designation. But just like, you know, with I think New York Yankees fan 7 has a 38 Gaudy with a mark also. If we could go to the next picture, Mike, that'd be great. Thank you. The back of it, you can see there on the right side where his name is, somebody wrote 42 on it, and that's the mark on this particular card, which I always thought was kind of cool. And I was doing some research on this, James, that apparently Cy Berger was getting all of his numbers and everything from the red book and the green book, from statistics from those books to put on the back of these. But you're right, this is kind of new with all this information about your favorite ball players.
Right. They usually didn't do stats until Topps started doing all these stats and everything. And it gave people a reason to keep going back to the card and looking up. And then maybe sometimes if you paid attention to the AL players, you didn't really know too much of the NL players. But these stats could colorize the magnitude of this player in their league compared to their peers. And maybe you might have a debate, well, this guy's probably better than that guy. Duke Snyder might be better than Mickey Mantle, whoever. And you could look at stats. So that's what made this collection or this set to be something where people just kept wanting them and kept talking about them.
Yeah, in the next slide, there's a variation that I was going to ask you about. There's 3 cards here, and you know, we have 2 there that don't have the landscapes you're referring to, and then we have the one on the left, the Dobie, which has just a really cool landscape. I personally think this is one of Dobie's best looking cards.
I do too. I love everything about it, the color, the background, even his look. It's like you bothering me now for a picture. He has that. You couldn't wait till I'm posing in the dugout somewhere. Like, go ahead, click it, and then that's how they caught him. But I'm waiting to pick one up just like yours, where it's nicely centered. It doesn't even have to be like a 4 or 5, as long as it just looks really nice, clean image, no creases. Because for certain players, you just want them to pop. Like all 3 of these, they pop. They're beautifully centered. That's pretty much what I would like in mine too.
Yeah, I didn't care about the grade really. I just was looking for one that was decently centered, and it was so hard to find one, the Dobie, and even the Irvin. But I was going to ask you about that Warren Spahn. It says black back on it. Can you explain the black and the red back differences?
Well, I try to look into it a little bit. The only thing I got as far as to look up was that black back is a little bit more scarcer, but it doesn't affect the value. And then it seems like either they probably were testing the backs on how they wanted to print them, whether red or black. Maybe they just chose to go with red because red is a more striking color. Or maybe it was a cheaper color because they already were using red a lot for the backgrounds. But I couldn't really find a lot of information. But all I know is that it doesn't affect the value. If people are wondering if it's scarcer, it should be more expensive, it's not. It's just the color they chose to print with. And it's just a little more scarcer. That's all I could find.
Interesting. Well, speaking of like somebody, the next card coming up is your card, James. It's somebody that asked, this set has the only pitcher who faced both Mantle and Ruth. Does anybody know who it is? I don't.
I do
but
not.
Here we go, James. Speaking of Mickey Mantle.
Yeah, I found this card laying in the gutter one day, and I picked it up, and I thought to myself, hey, maybe I should keep this. It looks a little valuable. Well, to tell you the truth, when I first got back into the hobby as a Yankee fan and as a collector all my life, I always knew this to be like the holy grail. That's attainable, not like the Honus Wagner where you could barely find it. And I don't know, for some reason I felt itchy. I felt that little YOLO vibe where I just said, you know what, if I could find one, I think I'm going to go for it because everything I looked up on it said the prices just keep going up on it. And the longer I wait, I might never be able to own it. And I decided to swing for it. And with this particular one, I ended up with a 4. But as you can see, it's a little OC. I don't mind that it's OC. It's a very clean copy, no creases. It's very nice. No snowing or paper loss, wrinkles. So I dealt with a little OC. And if I wanted something a little centered, I probably would have ended up with a 2 or a 2.5 for the same money. And that 2.5 probably would have gave me a wrinkle going across his forehead or something. Who knows? So I decided, you know what? I'll take this clean and I'll deal with a little OC. Because for a card of this magnitude, I wanted to enjoy looking at it. And that's what it came down to.
Oh, the registration and the eye appeal is amazing. It's kind of the opposite of the Jackie, frankly, that we had shown earlier. You know, that it's just kind of, it's centered pretty well, but boy, it's rough. You know, and it's hard to look at sometimes. This card is easy on the eyes.
Yeah, I fell in love with it. I had a choice between this one and someone else was selling me a 2.5, but the 2.5 had a bunch of chipping on the sides and 2 stains on the edges. And I said, you know what? Forget it. This one looks clean. I'm just doing it. And I pulled the trigger, spent a little bit more, but I said, when I look at this card, it's going to look like a thing of beauty to me. And that was it. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, the high number series, they held back some major stars. And we talked about this the other day. You know, was Mantle really a star at this point? But in 1952, you know, I looked this up. He got 3rd in the MVP voting, even though he didn't have a monster season. I believe he was the first, other than 2 pitchers, he was the 3rd person, you know, and he was having a great season. So,
well, if you think about it to now, he was Wander Franco. He was Lou Bob before that. And everyone knew about his lore as a prospect. In the minors, he was hitting 500-foot bombs, putting stuff in the parking lot. So everyone was just reading about him and waiting for him to come up. So it wasn't like he was someone that burst onto the scene. People knew about him. They were writing about him. He's the next heir apparent to Joe DiMaggio. And it's the Yankees. So the Yankees are covered, you know, by so much news members that he was known already. And Mike is like, you got to keep it going.
Okay, here we go. 83 tops. This is the set I'm talking about because I was 11 years old and just really into baseball cards at this point. And I love the 83 top set. I think they really tried to do a great job on this, like 52 tops. 83 tops, they have this. This is This is an advertisement that went out to vendors and people who owned like 7-Elevens and Circle K's. And they talk about how this set is a whole new ball game, you know, because they had that whole 80. They lost the lawsuit, and in 81, you had Donruss and Fleer come in, and they were challenging Topps. And by 83, Topps was really trying to get a better product out there. And you see here, you know, they featured your guy there, James, Reggie Jackson. You know, his first card, non-traded card as an Angel.
Hey, George, are we going to crack that at the National?
Not this
I'm looking
one.
forward to it.
No, this is actually a Michigan Wax box, which was, you know, these were packs. If are you guys familiar with Michigan Wax from '83? Yeah. They're actually in like almost like plastic foil type packs, and they were a test issue. So these cards, Michigan Wax packs, cannot really be tampered with. I mean, I'm sure if somebody really took the time, they could do that. Thank you, Hawaii Factory. Appreciate it. So, you know, these Michigan Wax packs, I felt comfortable buying a box years ago in Michigan Wax, knowing that it wasn't tampered with, and I sent it off to Baseball Card Exchange during COVID. And
Does it say it somewhere on the box, or how do you know that?
They're longer. The packs are longer,
okay.
So the box itself is about an inch longer, not wider, but longer.
Got it.
So in '83, Topps did this thing where it was the biggest set up to that point, 792 cards all in one series. They had all-stars. We have the all-stars here. They had other, and that Ricky Henderson actually can be a valuable card in a PSA 10. I mean, I think it pushes close to $1,000 in a 10, believe it or not. But lots of great all-stars here. And on the back of the all-star cards, they talked about great all-star games in the past. And so they also had these other ones. Obviously, you have Ricky Henderson's record breakers. So they had record breakers, all-stars, and the Ricky Henderson record breaker. I mean, you guys remember this, what he did in 82. They were just promoting him like crazy. And so then we had the super veteran cards, the leaders cards, and those super veteran cards are really cool. But I think that the big attraction to the 83 top set is threefold. This one here is the young stars in the game. So, like, I love that Ripken. I think that Ripken is probably his best looking card, frankly. The Henderson is great. And then you had also these veterans, you had those young guys, and then you had the veterans. So, I mean, this set is riddled with Hall of Famers. Brett, Yaz, Carew, the Hawk, you know, Tim Raines, Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, Mike Schmidt, just riddled with Hall of Famers. And I think that's really what makes it, that's the second thing that makes it a great set. And the third thing is, clearly, same with 54 tops, the rookies. I feel sad here. I couldn't find my Wade Boggs rookie. Sorry, John, Wade Boggs fan. But I had one, and I was going to put all three of them up. But this set had these three pivotal rookies, just like the 54 top set. And these guys were becoming good in that year and had been good the year before. Boggs had really good numbers in 82. On the back, they're on the back of his card. Gwynn was pretty good. And by the time 83 rolled around, these were the cards that we really were trying to get, as you guys know. And also, I think that Topps, this is the first time Topps ever tried to replicate a previous set. I think they were really creative, but then in 83, they tried to emulate the 63 set. Now it's with the circle and two pictures and all that. But you know, it's a little different, as you can see. But 83 was really trying to do that. And I think the pictures were much better. If you look at 63 Topps, some of those little circle pictures, you know, the guys kind of looked mildly deformed, frankly. It just wasn't good. And then you can see here, you know, 63 Topps Maris, 83 Topps Bench, and then in 2018, they gave us this 83 35th anniversary throwback. So you can get Acuna and Soto rookies in that 83 Topps. So it's just kind of this consistent design to some degree. The next slide is kind of interesting. In the packs, oh, by the way, the packs had gum, and Donruss and Fleer did not have gum at this point, I don't believe. So I used to just get as many Topps packs as I could because the gum was a big deal to me. And Donruss was kind of unimaginative in 83, similar to 82, the 82 set. But this is a World Series trip. You'd get these in every pack, and you rub them off. And if you could see, I thought it was hilarious. If you got 3 home runs, you got to go to trip for 4 games to the World Series. And if you got 3 triples, you got yourself a ColecoVision, which might ring a bell, James. Do you remember that?
I had my Donkey Kong, so I used to play ColecoVision a lot.
You could get a ColecoVision and a Donkey Kong cartridge. And then also, if you collected those enough, you could send them off and you would get these all-star sets. And this is the Henderson from that all-star set. They were sendaways, and you'd send those away in like 50 cents for shipping, and you'd get these all-star sets. So Topps is really putting things out there in 83 to try to really get the business away from Donruss and Fleer. So, Don, here we go. It's 50 time.
So the 1950 Bowman set, the artwork is what attracted me to this set. And if you do Google searches, you can find the actual photographs that these were taken from, including this Yogi Berra here. And there's 2 cards in this set, including this one, that are probably in my top 10 all-time favorite cards of any year. I love this Yogi Berra. Just a great card. And again, another set that I wasn't initially looking to get, but once I got the really big card in the set, I started going after it. And the 51s look very similar, except they have the name on the front. And some people may not like that these are a little smaller than typical cards, but just love them. The Jackie Robinson here, this was the big card I was talking about. And George was a big help on me acquiring this card, and I had picked his brain and shown him many examples. And he was like, "No, I don't think you'll like that one. Hold off, wait for another one." This one popped up, and he's like, "You got to go after this." So literally about 20 seconds after I won the auction, because I got a really good deal on this card, I got a text from George. "Please tell me you won that card. I'm going to kill you if you didn't bid high enough," because I would have gone after it. So fortunately, I did win this card. And this is the second card where arguably top 10 of my favorite cards in my collection, probably top 5. I can't believe I have this card in my collection. I really don't. Card I picked up at the National. And here's an example of buying the card, not the grade. I was looking at a 4 and a 5 from the same dealer. And I want to say they were $10 or $20 apart. And I actually went with the 4 instead of the 5. It was a nicer looking card. And to be honest, I think they should have been flipped. There should have been the 5 and the 5 should have been a 4. But what a great photo of Phil Rizzuto jumping there. And again, Google this card and you'll find the photo on the internet. So they just
these cards are just so artistic. And I mean, you can see the stadium in the background. I don't know about you guys. We were talking on a text thread that we go back and forth on about our favorite baseball movies or top 5 baseball movies. And my favorite baseball movie is The Natural, but it's not just the story; it's the time period, it's the art, the cars, the stadiums, and this just kind of, I feel like with that Phil Rizzuto and like the Yogi seems to me it's like he's at spring training or something, and you can kind of walk off into the field indefinitely.
Yeah, the woods in the background. I mean, if these were literally portrait size or painting size, I would hang these on my wall. Like they look that great. This is something our buddy Scott would draw for us, and put it up on the wall. They're just beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like I can literally just like, you can almost just walk past Rizzuto and then look to the guys to your right that are there in the infield and like walk into the stands. It's really neat.
One of my favorite cards in the set. And not one of the A-list Hall of Famers per se, but this Robin Roberts. Something about this pose, and again, like the empty stadium in the background, how they blacked it out, and just this follow through. Just love this card. And again, this is a set where once I got to Jackie Robinson, and then recently I was just at a show in Cleveland. I picked up the Ted Williams, and those are probably the 2 big cards in this set. And I'm still not complete. I think I have 7 more to go. And they're not the top guys. So they should, I'm going to look out at the National for some of these guys to finish this set. I think there's 24 Hall of Famers. And again, like Leo DeRocher's in this set, which is one manager that I probably would go after. Became aware of this card because of Alex. Bowman 53 did an episode on it. This card's just gorgeous. I love the dugout there with the old phone and the guy in the background. And again, you can find this photo on the internet.
Yeah, that's just, that card has always, well, just go back to that Robin Roberts. Like in this one too, like James, I know that you were an artist when you like to draw as well, or you did when you were younger. I did too. Like, what do you think of that card, James?
It's gorgeous. As an artist, I love how you can see the shading with the grass. It's little details like that with the variants, and you can even see the blades of grass. All those little details I pick up. The little bag next to the dugout, the bell. I just love it. I look at the umpire in the background. He's probably writing stuff down. It's details like that I love. I could even see some people in the stands with the hat. I love it. That's just right up my alley. I have that card in a 51 for the same reason. I love everything about this card. Love it.
It goes back to what James was saying too. The interpretation of the artist, even though these were taken from photographs, they still put their own spin on these paintings, or baseball cards.
And it's interesting to me. I noticed that, like with the Jackie, with the Duke, with Robin Roberts, and even the Ted Williams, they're finishing their swing. They're finishing their pitch. It's not a batting stance. Duke is done swinging here. Ted Williams, done swinging. Jackie Robinson, done swinging. So, you have a lot of these different poses where they're like you can think what you wonder what just happened in that action, like because he just got done. I mean, here it looks like he's practice swinging, but like when Robin Roberts is throwing, he gets done. Did he throw a strike? What was it? You know what I mean? So there was some action that had just happened, not a stance where there's action that's going to happen. It's just something I've noticed about this as we've been going through these.
Here's an undervalued card right here. This card is amazing. It looks like he's warming up before a game right next to the dugout. Got all his teammates in the dugout. The stands look like they're full. This Bob Feller, one of my favorite cards too. I keep saying that because these are all great cards. That's why I wasn't smart enough to put 3 or 4 on one slide like you guys did. I wish I could have shown more, but another undervalued player, you can get Bob Feller's a great price. It's a crime how cheap some of his stuff is. But this is just a classic pose, ready to throw that heater from Van Meter.
Yeah, it's almost like you said, like you're before the game and you're getting excited before the game. Like this just has this excitement. The stands are full. They're getting ready to watch the greatest pitcher of that era pitch. And it's exciting. You know what I mean? Like you can almost like smell the way that, you can smell the cigars and the popcorn and the hot dogs. And this game is this Indians game.
Everyone's in suits and ties and in the stands.
Yeah, and their fedoras. Yeah. And this, this is the year after they won the World Series, right? They won the World Series in '49, and this is coming off that big year. Well, Don, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, James, 71, the black bordered beauties here. These are great cards.
Well, we covered a lot of cards from the 50s. So I figured let me touch on a different era. And the 70s was a era. I figured let me touch on a very unique set. Topps didn't make any other set that looked like this. Like you spoke about the 83 paid homage to the 63, and then they brought it back recently. Like this 71 set, there's no other design like this throughout the whole Topps years. And I think it's just stands alone with the black border everywhere. And it's one of the few sets that started at that point incorporating action photos, which also was a reason why I love this set.
And that Vida Blue, I mean, there's so much personality in that card. It's so much personality. And, Vida Blue was such a great dude. I just real quick, I had a friend who had as a teenager worked, he's in his 60s. He'd worked in his father's dry cleaning store, and they were out in Mesa. And when the A's would train, the Charlie Finley A's would train, Vida would bring in his clothes and to this shop. And this cleaning store. And my buddy tells me he interacted with Vida Blue numerous times, and he was always just a funny, gentlemanly, great dude. I mean, that's just, and Vida Blue would win the MVP of this year, right?
Yeah, he won the MVP, which is one of the reasons why I had this card for my MVP series that I'm in the middle of. But it's also one of his best looking cards. If this would have been like his rookie card, I think this probably would have been up there with Ernie Banks's 54, because I love Ernie Banks's smile and the energy he has in that picture. Same thing for this Vida Blue. It's just a fun looking card.
Yeah.
And one of the things about this set that's also very challenging is finding one with clean chipping. And that's what makes this set extra challenging and maybe makes them look ugly when they're very chipped up. And centering. Centering's another big issue with this card. But you'll see some, as we keep scrolling like this one, you'll see some chipping. But this pays tribute to the action shot, where Brooks Robinson is striking out and looking ugly here, striking out. But it is a great picture. I love this picture. How many times are you going to get immortalized with a strikeout? But it looks so cool with his old uni.
I can hear my third base coach tell Brooks Robinson, you're pulling your head. You're pulling your, what are you looking at? What are you looking down here for? He's looking way around.
He opened his hips too early there probably, but it's a great picture. And of course, you got probably the most expensive card in the set, the Thurman Munson rookie trophy card with one of the best action cards in Topps history, possibly. I love everything about this card. As a Yankee fan, this is just one of the top Yankee cards in my collection. I bought it raw and got it graded, and it graded reasonably out of 5.5, but it had great centering, hardly no chipping. And I don't know if I would do SGC because the borders kind of get lost in it, but I don't know.
I love this because Munson is just tagging him, and I'm not sure who the guy there is, but who's sliding, but he's just eating dirt. He's just getting the treatment.
And they water the grass, the dirt now, so you don't see the cloud of dust kicking up anymore. But you did here in the 70s, and that's what makes this card look even more epic. Is all that cloud of dust? It's just like so gorgeous.
I think it's Joe Rudy being tagged out.
Nice.
Well,
and by the way, in that '83 record breaker, Ricky Henderson that I was explaining, there's a Baltimore Oriole in the background, and I believe it's Cal Ripken.
Oh, all right.
Just to throw that out.
On the top of that great photo, having the Rookie Cup trophy on it just adds to it.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's gorgeous. And this is one of yours, George?
I just threw that in. I figured, Lou would love that. I know he was talking Clemente earlier on the side here. So, you got to throw the Clemente in there. This was a purchase from a pandemic purchase, right at the beginning of the pandemic. I was looking for this card, and it's a high number, and it's just so tough to find a centered one. And just the 71 season, just Clemente was already a legend, but the 71 season and the playoffs just solidified his status all time. I think it's just one of the greatest players, but also one of the greatest World Series performers in history.
Right. Yeah. This is an example of my Mel Stoudemire card, probably the highest graded 71 I have, and a grade 7, very minimal chipping all around it. So I just wanted to show you a card that looked as clean as I can own one without breaking too much of a bank on it. And I think he looks so stoic, a great Yankee pitcher that never got the acclaim, but his ERA and WAR is up there with the likes of Cliff Lee and Jack Morris. He was a great pitcher that was maybe undervalued or underappreciated.
And a great pitching coach too, right?
Yeah. And this is one of my favorite action shots aside from Thurman Munson, Cookie Rojas. Look at that picture. It's just, it doesn't get much better than this. It's almost like the Pee Wee Reese Bowman, the 53 card, not to the same extent, but it's gorgeous. I love it.
You can't even do that anymore, can you?
No.
You can't slide into anybody anymore.
I could fall looking like number 9, but no, I won't be jumping up like Cookie Rojas. And there's Sweet Lou. I love Sweet Lou in a Royals uni. He's giving it all he's got there with that swing. You can see that grit in his teeth. It's a good looking picture, man. I love this picture. Sweet Lou looking sweet there. And this is a common part, but I mean, so much detail to this action shot. This is what 71 got right. It's pictures like this that you don't need it to be someone to appreciate it. And this is what I love about this set. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful picture.
And the first base coach is saying, "Why are you looking at me?" Dude, keep your head down. I'm ball.
There goes Joe Torre. Man, the Yankee manager there, ripping one down the line, man. That's just a beautiful picture right there again.
Yeah, and this is our last card. And, when you think about that, Joe Torre was the MVP in 1971. This is his MVP year, which is why you have the card, right? Well, I mean, other than the fact you love the set.
Right. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I chase this card. There's another 2 cards I want to chase in the set. The Cubs team card, which is very different from any other team card. And the Joe Morgan. I love the Joe Morgan action card.
Yeah, that's from behind, like on the third base side of home plate, right? And Morgan is swinging.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's behind there.
Yeah.
I want to pick a really one up.
So with the 71s, I've had experience where I had a really nice Reggie I bought from my local card shop. Thought it was going to grade like a 7, and I sent it off, and it's like it came back as recolored.
Oh,
What was that, James?
they recolored them like crazy. I think Lou bought one that was recolored.
Yeah, you get that black Sharpie, and then they just, those edges look really good. And then if you put under black light or really look at it, you can see, man, that's not really the black of the card. That's somebody Sharpied it up.
trying to get big bucks for their cards.
Yeah, Don. So let me ask you, on the 50 Bowman, which ones are you lacking of the Hall of Famers, or which one's on the list next?
I have Johnny Mize. I need the big one. Out of the ones I need would be Richie Ashburn. Trying to think who else off the top of my head. Honestly, off the top of my head, I can't think of the guys. None of them are big stars. I'm going blank on it. Yeah, I'm sorry, George. I can't think of them.
No, I just figured I'd ask. There's another one. Fast Breaks and Breakfast said the 71 Garvey is my favorite. I'm going to do a little plug here. I can't see why Steve Garvey's not in the Hall of Fame. But anyway, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's a nice card.
Great rookie card. It's the key rookie card in 71. Other than it's a key rookie card, I think. Mm-hmm. And that was great. I saw that Chris Gill said he Sharpied his Hank back in the day. Nobody would know, right? If you Sharpied it.
Going back to that Clemente, though, being a Clemente fan, that's one of his nicest cards, in my opinion.
What's ironic, James, what you said, like this Mel Stottlemyre is a 7. It's the highest graded 71 card I have, and I have a Hank that's graded higher, but that Clemente is the second highest graded card that I have of 71. And you look at it and they're so tough on this stuff, and you're thinking, man, I don't know, like, not that it's pack fresh, but it's like your Mel Stottlemyre. You're like, I don't know how it could be any better, So I don't know what they're looking for.
That's mine's a 7 as well, but it's SGC. But still, it looks amazing.
If that Clemente had white border, you wouldn't notice the little tipping and chipping. It would be white, so it would probably get a 9 because the corners look great on that. Same thing with the Mel Stottlemyre, but because it's black, they stand out so much. They bang it hard. Yeah,
they didn't give anybody a break. Like those 63s that I showed with the similar to 83 tops. You've got the bottom, which is the color, full color, like the Mantl's green and the Aaron's green, Clemente's blue, but that's only like 40% of the card on the bottom. That's not the whole thing. So when you find nice 71s, you really got to appreciate them.
There you go.
There you go, Ernie Banks.
So the Blyleven and the Simmons are the only rookies from that year, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I got to give you the hook, guys.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, guys. Everybody check out Diamond Yard Sports Cards, Elite Hunters, Don's Field of Dreams cards. Great members of the community. We're all going to be hanging out at the Nationals, so looking forward to that, fellas.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for all the comments.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Thanks, guys.